Hey, on Sunday, it's the Jets and Buffalo Bills, and we know everyone was looking forward to the coaching matchup, but part of that is already done because Rex Ryan is out as the head coach in Buffalo. But what's going on with the Jets? Is this going to be Todd Bowles' last game, or is he going to survive this and come back and coach next season? Manish Mehta from the New York Daily News writing columns all week regarding that, and Rex Ryan, to be honest with you. And Manish joins us here for a few minutes on Big Board Sports in Albany on ESPN Radio. Good morning, Manish. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
We're doing good. Zach By, Roger Weiland here. Manish, I got to ask you wrote a column that strongly suggested that the last thing that Woody Johnson should do is to fire Todd Bowles, and it looks like he might listen to you.
Well, I think he's listening to people in the organization more so than me, but the indications really now for the past month have been that Todd Bowles would be back, and if you listen to what Woody had said earlier this season, he said that he had long-term confidence in both Bowles and Mike Maccagnan. So to jump ship after 2 seasons, when one of those seasons was a 10-win campaign, to me would be foolish, reckless. It would really make the Jets' job for future candidates radioactive, because you probably would not attract your best possible candidates if you're firing guys after 2 years. Now, I will say this about Woody. He has typically been patient with his head coaches. If you take it out, Al Grove, the first year that he owned the team, Grove voluntarily went to Virginia. Every other coach that has been under Woody has had at least 3 years. Mangini had 3, Herm Edwards had 5, and Rex Ryan, of course, had 6. And the only reason that Mangini was fired was because of how he kind of conducted business in the building. He was a secretive person, didn't really let Woody in on a lot of what was going on, so that's why he was fired actually after a 9-7 season. But for the most part, Woody has been patient, so it's not a surprise that he's leaning toward Bowles being back. Now, look, nobody knows for sure, of course, until after Sunday, but every indication really for several weeks has been that Bowles will be back, and I just think that right now what makes most sense would be for Woody to come out and just end the speculation, say that he's got confidence in Bowles and he will be returning in 2017. I don't know if that's going to happen before kickoff, but I think that'd be the smartest move.
You never know with Woody. I'll wait until Monday to just because you know what, a lot of people get in his ear and he changes his mind very quickly. But I agree with you. It sounds like Bowles will be back. I wrote this in the Times Union today. Very quick bit. I said, look, you can't pull the plug yet on Todd Bowles, and here's why. Quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick was terrible this season. That's not on Bowles, and Bowles can control the injuries. And the Jets are one of the most injured teams in the National Football League. You agree with that?
Yeah, they were banged up. I think they ended up with 15 or 16 guys on IR. Now, a lot of the key guys did play this season healthy, or healthy for the most part. I think the bigger issue is what you just said earlier about the quarterback situation. They don't have a good quarterback situation. They didn't have a good quarterback situation when Bowles was hired. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick obviously saved them last year by having the season of his life, but when you look at it objectively, this was not a good quarterback situation that he inherited. And when I spoke to Charlie Casserly, who was obviously involved in the consulting portion of the head coaching and GM hiring process 2 years ago, he made it clear that of all the jobs that were open a few years ago, the Jet job was probably the least desirable because of the quarterback situation. So I do think that you have to give Bowles at least another year to see if this team can head in the right direction. It's going to be with a new quarterback. It's not going to be with anybody who's currently on the roster. So giving him a third year, I think, is the right thing to do, not only for him, but I think for the organization when you look at it through a broader lens.
Time with Manish Mehta, New York Daily News. NFL weekend upon us again. Jets will close it out against the Bills at MetLife. Why not Christian Hackenberg this weekend, and why Fitzpatrick when he is not in your future plans? Why not give Hackenberg a chance to go out there and show what he can do? Or is he just clearly that far behind that he's nowhere near ready to go under center?
In their minds, he is not close to being an NFL starter. That being said, I think there is virtually no downside to having him start this week against Buffalo because it is a meaningless game, because he has now had 8 months of tutelage inside the organization. He's learned from his coaches. He's learned from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, he's seen a lot of football. He's He's learned a lot of football over the past 8 months, but they don't think he's ready. And what's interesting about Christian Hackenberg is that when you speak to people in the building, there's a division. One faction believes that he's a long ways off. The other faction believes that he's never going to be a starting quarterback in this league. And I thought that was pretty harsh. When I heard that, my immediate reaction is, well, that's premature. How can you say that about a guy who's never taken a snap and who's only in his first year as a third-string quarterback? But, they see a lot more than what we see in the classroom, on the practice field, and there are at least some people in the building who don't think that he's ever going to be a starting quarterback. And if that comes to fruition, it's obviously an indictment on Mike Maccagnan, because from the people I spoke to around the league, they thought that Hackenberg was overdrafted. Second round was way too early. Some guys had him as a fourth rounder, and some had him even below that. So we're going to find out a lot about whether Christian Hackenberg is going to be the answer. But again, he is not going to be your starting quarterback at the start of 2017. That's going to be somebody who is currently not on the team, whether it's through free agency or maybe even someone that they draft.
Manish, as Roger alluded to just a couple minutes ago, you wrote about Rex Ryan this week as well in the Daily News. And you wrote that Ryan was Buffalo's scapegoat for 17 years of a playoff drought. Why, in your estimation, did Rex Ryan get a raw deal in Buffalo?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of factors involved. I don't think there's one easy answer. I will say that there wasn't a good relationship between Rex and the general manager, Doug Whaley. That's part of it. I know that he was fired before this season finale against the Jets, as opposed to after the season finale, because Rex wanted to start Tyrod Taylor. The management, for smart business reasons, did not want to start Tyrod Taylor, because if he does get hurt, he does have a clause in his contract that would, in effect, guarantee him $30 million. So from a Buffalo Bills organizational standpoint, I definitely understand the notion of sitting and starting E.J. Manuel for that game. But just looking at it, from a broader perspective, this is an organization that hasn't made it to the playoff in 17 years. There's a lot of angst, there's a lot of bitterness, a lot of frustration, and I think that Rex's biggest downfall was overpromising. When he got the job a couple years ago, he came in guns a-blazing, promised a lot of things, and I don't want to say that he wasn't going to fulfill that promise, but he clearly didn't in these first 2 years. But to pull the plug on a guy 2 years into a 5-year, $27.5 million contract is ridiculous. It's absurd. If you're the owner, that much to give him that type of deal 2 seasons ago, what would an 8-8 season and a 7-8 season to this point do to change your mind? It's just an odd thing for me. I think these people are expecting miracles. They're not going to get miracles. They're not going to get miracles when they don't have a quarterback, that's for sure. So in that respect, I think that Rex was indeed a scapegoat for all the failures that this organization has had for the past 2 decades. Now, was he a great coach? No, he was not a great coach. Was he as bad as he was depicted in the media up there? Not even close.
Well, I think he'll end up in the TV booth and be phenomenal at that job for sure. Maybe he'll try his hand at college football. Who knows? Manish, Mehta, always enjoy your work in the New York Daily News. Thanks for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care. And happy New Year as we get set to ring in the new year. And if you're going to ring in the new year, you're going to be watching college football Saturday night. I can tell you that right now. Washington and Alabama Saturday, 3 o'clock Eastern, ESPN. Ohio State, Clemson, Saturday, 7 o'clock ESPN. Got to somehow, if you're a college football fan, tie that into your New Year's plans here for the weekend. We're talking college football. We're talking semifinals this weekend next on Big Board Sports at 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio.